This presentation is brought to you by the Center for Career and Professional Development at Lehigh University. Today we are going to discuss the new playbook for getting hired. As employers alter their recruiting tactics in response to global events and technological advances, it is critical that job seekers understand the changing landscape and make adjustments to their job search and interview prep strategies. The old world of recruiting looked like this. The relationships between students and employers were facilitated through clear and established channels of communication that included partnerships with universities and involvement in university events, like career expos and career fairs, the use of some limited online platforms, and even some third-party events. But today, in response to disruption of old models caused by the global pandemic, students and employers are navigating new ways to connect and establish the pipeline of candidates to companies and organizations. What we now see as center to the changes and new ways of connecting is the utilization of technology and online platforms. So, what does this mean for you moving forward with your job search? Well, there are 5 key differences that you should know about the recruiting landscape that will impact your approach. Transitioning to the world of technology and recruiting has meant there is less transactional engagement needed with interviews and the collection of resumes. The introduction of students in the traditional approaches are becoming less common. You used to walk up at a career expo, give your pitch, and take the conversation from there. But the new first round interview is employers looking at your handshake profile, your LinkedIn profile, your digital portfolios, your social media profiles. So you always have to be on and make sure that your materials and profiles are up to date and looking professional. From a diversity, equity, and inclusion perspective, the technology boom means there is greater access for students to find and pursue opportunities across the nation and the world. But that also means that there is a wider reach for employer partners. So now that applicant pools for positions are larger than ever before, you need to start asking yourself, how do I stand out? We also know that employers are interested in making connections with students earlier on in their careers and want to have multiple points of engagement over time. And nowadays, they are tracking these interactions. Employers utilize what are called applicant tracking systems, and they are evolving and becoming more widely used across industries. The applicant tracking system helps employers figure out who is the most interested and eager, as evidenced by interaction with the company in a variety of ways, like webinars, info sessions, and other types of inquiry. Employers have also begun hosting their own company-specific events using their company websites for posting and advertising events and job details. As a result, travel to campuses has been reduced and there are less in-person opportunities to connect. Now that we have virtual info sessions, webinars, and so on, it's important to take advantage of those opportunities instead of waiting for things to quote-unquote go back to normal, because this is the new normal. Building relationships and engaging with employers in the virtual format is critical for today's job seekers. Experiential learning has also become a new strategy in the hiring process. This is where employers host volunteer work events for recruits as a way of increasing informal interactions, and as a way to get to know applicants. These are things like community gardens, neighborhood cleanups, and other types of volunteer opportunities where you engage with employees who work at that company. You'll need to dust off your interpersonal skills and sell your personality. They want to see who you are as a person. So as you move forward with your job and internship search, it is critical that you keep these differences in the recruiting landscape in mind. Here are some more strategies for navigating a successful job or internship search. The first thing to do is to do your due diligence to investigate career pathways, learn about industries, and identify where your strengths and knowledge can be best applied. There are resources available to walk you through this process in the Explore Careers tile on Handshake. After you know what you're searching for, you should maximize the Handshake job and internship database to work for you. Rather than logging on to search for new postings every other day, you can filter the database to align with your job preferences and then create job alerts that will notify you via email when positions are open that match your profile. Another investigative strategy is to identify specific companies of interest to target in your job search. Buzzfile.com/edu is an incredible resource that allows you to view lists of companies organized by specific industries and also filtered by geographic location. Once you've identified companies to target, we then recommend that you search for Lehigh alumni who work at those places and network to uncover any hidden job opportunities that might not be posted online. We call this the hidden job market. Our next section of strategies expands on that idea of networking to advance your career. Networking may sound like more work, but it is well worth the time and energy. According to topresume.com, nearly 50% of their respondents said they learned about jobs from friends in their professional network. So it's critical to invest time in the process of building your network. Some simple ways you can do that are by signing up for employer-sponsored events on Handshake. These are things like virtual coffee chats, webinars, info sessions. Or if you are part of a student club or organization, talk to your e-board about partnering with the CCPD. We can help you plan networking events with our employer partners. We also recommend that you use Lehigh Connects to network with alumni. On Lehigh Connects, you can search for alumni by specific employers, by industries, location, graduation year, and much more. The bottom line when it comes to networking is that it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. The final strategy for job search success is to tailor your resume and cover letter for each specific position that you're applying for. Remember the applicant tracking systems I talked about? This is exactly how to make it through that stage of the hiring process. So make sure that you match keywords and important phrases exactly from the job description onto your resume and in your cover letter. And you want to make sure that you remove the experiences from your resume that are not relevant to this position. You want to make it as clear as possible that you are a good fit for this position, not just any position. It's also important that you begin thinking about the interviewing stage of the hiring process, especially in today's virtual world. When interviews are held in a virtual format, some people make the mistake of underpreparing or failing to take it as seriously as an in-person interview. Do not let this be you. Preparation is still absolutely critical for successful interviewing online. Therefore, I want to draw your attention to resources available on Handshake to help you prep. In the Career Resource Library on Handshake, click the Interviewing tile to find an interview prep video, a written guide, and an interactive study guide. These tools are at your disposal 24/7 at lehigh.joinhandshake.com. On the Interviewing tile, you will also find a link to The Big Interview, which is an online practice tool where you can practice interviewing in a virtual format and watch your responses back. It's also recommended that you get familiar with a variety of meeting platforms like Zoom, Skype, Teams, and others, so that you're comfortable navigating technology on the day of your interview. When you're in your virtual interview, you should approach it as if you were there in person. This means you should dress professionally, you shouldn't be eating or drinking, you should maintain a professional environment. You need to find a quiet space with no potential for distractions or interruptions, and you also need to make sure that you have a professional background, or you can always use a blur feature for your camera background. If you ever need a professional space for a virtual interview, did you know you can reserve an interview room in the CCPD? Feel free to send an email to careercenter@lehigh.edu anytime, or stop by McGinnis 500 during business hours to reserve your interview room. Before we end, I want to leave you with some tips for wrapping up your job search. When you are ultimately offered a position, don't forget that there are a few things that you may be able to negotiate. Can you make a case for a larger salary? Are there any benefits that could sweeten the deal? Or perhaps there's a start date that might work better for you. You can always stop by Career Lab or make an appointment with a career coach to learn more about negotiating and navigating these types of conversations. Another important thing to consider when you are offered a position is that accepting an offer means that your job search is over. You should stop searching and submitting applications, and you should respectfully pull yourself out of any active hiring processes that you might be a part of. You also never want to renege on an offer, which means changing your mind later after officially accepting a position. As a newbie to your industry, it is critically important that you build professional reputation and maintain positive relationships. Reneging on an offer could hurt your career for years to come. Word spreads quickly within industry, and first impressions are powerful. Not only could you hurt your own reputation by reneging, but you could also be creating a negative impression on Lehigh University and potentially impact other students' chances of employment at that company in the future. So as you move forward in your internship or job search, you are invited to attend Career Lab in the CCPD for more information and guidance along the way. Career Lab is the CCPD walk-in services for all things career and professional development. Need help finding positions? Want to edit your resume? Need to build a LinkedIn profile? Stop by Career Lab anytime between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday in McGinnis 500. Thank you for viewing this presentation on the new playbook for getting hired in today's virtual world. If you have any questions, please feel free to come visit us in the Center for Career and Professional Development.